Let's get started with our first news. Alex Pereira is currently working on his wrestling in Japan. Alex Pereira is currently visiting Japan with his coach, Pino Cruz. Even while on vacation, Pereira isn't skipping training. In a recent video posted to his social media, he was seen getting in some solid wrestling rounds. This shows the mentality of a true champion, always striving to sharpen his skills even when the rest of the world might be relaxing. Pereira's dedication continues to impress, and it's clear he is taking the evolution of his game seriously. In today's MMA landscape, being well-rounded isn't just important, it's essential. No matter how devastating your striking is, the ability to wrestle, control the clinch, and defend takedowns can often make the difference between victory and defeat at the championship level. Alex Pereira seems to understand this deeply. Instead of getting comfortable with his achievements, he is constantly searching for ways to level up. Wrestling has been the one area where critics have pointed out potential vulnerabilities in his game, and it looks like Pereira is taking that criticism seriously, not by talking about improvements, but by putting in the work where it matters most, in the training room. And what better place to refine his skills than Japan, a country with a long and rich tradition in martial arts and wrestling. Training during what is supposed to be downtime speaks volumes about Pereira's mindset. The grind doesn't stop just because the cameras are off. The best fighters in the world know that titles are not just won on fight night, they are built during these unseen hours. It is in these moments, when no one is watching, when there are no bright lights, no crowds, that true greatness is forged. The competition at the top of the division is growing fiercer with every passing month. New challengers are emerging, each hungry, each bringing new weapons and strategies into the cage. To stay champion in this environment requires more than just talent. It demands relentless improvement. Pereira understands that every edge matters, and he's doing everything possible to stay a step ahead of the pack. Fans around the world are surely watching this with respect and admiration. Whether you are a casual viewer or a hardcore fan, it's impossible not to be impressed by Alex Pereira's commitment. If he continues this level of focus and hard work, it's hard to see anyone dethroning him anytime soon. Let's move on to our second news. The MMA community goes off on ESPN for their Jon Jones tweet. On a recent post on social media, ESPN praised Jon Jones for having the second longest title reign in UFC history. They wrote, "Jon Jones officially has the second longest undisputed heavyweight reign in UFC history at 785 days, behind only Cain Velasquez's reign of 896 days from 2012 to 2015. Jones is one step closer to having the longest title reign in two different weight classes. Legendary." However, the MMA community wasn't buying it. Many fans pointed out that Jon Jones has only fought twice since 2023, making him one of the least active champions in the company's history. It didn't sit well with fans that ESPN was celebrating a reign that barely saw any action inside the cage, and they made their voices heard loud and clear. One fan sarcastically commented, "ESPN MMA's newest admin is Dana White." Another fan piled on saying, "This is actually a terrible flex. Jones has one title defense against the ghost of Stipe while still ducking the interim champ." The criticisms kept rolling in. Someone else chimed in with, "Well, when you fight only once every 2 years, how is this not from a burner account?" Another added, "One title defense in over 2 years against a retired Stipe. 2 fights in the last 4 years. Bro is reigning, he's nesting." The roasting continued with brutal honesty. One fan joked, "Wow, 25 months. He must have fought 5, maybe 6 times. What? 2 times? 2 times in over 2 years. When's his next fight? Oh wait, it's not even scheduled." The frustration among fans was clear. It wasn't just about inactivity, it was about how the narrative was being shaped by major media outlets like ESPN, trying to paint Jones's heavyweight run as dominant, when many feel it has been anything but. Another comment called for action, saying, "Jon Jones needs to retire, fight Aspinall, or give up the heavyweight title. He's becoming a joke." Someone else quoted the famous line, "You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain," perfectly capturing the fall in public perception that Jones has experienced over the years. The criticism got even harsher. One fan wrote, "Celebrating being inactive for years at a time. Wow, so amazing." Another blasted ESPN directly, saying, "You realize how ridiculous of a post this is, right? Pretty easy when you don't fight." Yet another viewer said, "Thought this was a parody account, had to do a double take." Finally, one more fan wrapped up the outrage perfectly with, "Dana, log off the ESPN account, bro. You ain't fooling anyone." The overall message was loud and clear. Fans are tired of the media hyping up records that don't reflect real competition. In their eyes, it's not just about holding the belt, it's about defending it and fighting the best consistently. Let's move on to another news. Michael Bisping previews Usman versus Buckley. In a recent YouTube video, Michael Bisping shared his thoughts on the upcoming clash between Kamaru Usman and Joaquin Buckley, and he raised a really interesting question. If Usman loses this fight, could this be the end of the road for the former welterweight king? Could we be witnessing the final chapter of one of the greatest welterweights the sport has ever seen? As for the matchup itself, it's an absolutely fascinating one. Buckley is surging right now, and he's doing it in style. He's riding a red-hot win streak, and the biggest feather in his cap so far is the complete one-sided beatdown of former interim champion Colby Covington. That performance sent shockwaves through the division and immediately put Buckley on everyone's radar. His momentum, combined with his natural explosiveness and relentless fighting style, has suddenly made him a very serious player at 170 pounds. If Buckley manages to get past Usman, it wouldn't be crazy at all to see him thrown straight into the title conversation. That's how big this fight is. A win over a former undisputed champion like Usman would catapult Buckley into the elite tier of the division overnight. But make no mistake about it, beating Kamaru Usman is no easy task, even at this later stage of his career. The Nigerian Nightmare still possesses elite wrestling, brutal clinch work, and a championship-level mindset that's been sharpened through years of battling the best of the best. Buckley is going to have to find a way to deal with that non-stop pressure, the grinding style, and the physical strength that Usman brings into the octagon every single time he fights. At the same time, Buckley's raw speed, devastating power, and newfound confidence make him incredibly dangerous. Physically, when you look at Joaquin Buckley, the guy is built like a superhero, simple as that. Find me a better athlete in the UFC right now. It's not easy. He's insanely fast, he has knockout power in both hands, and he's got the gas tank to push a hard pace for all 3 rounds. He's a phenomenal athlete, and he's coming into this one full of energy and momentum. As Bisping pointed out, when you fight someone like Kamaru Usman, you better bring your absolute best. Look no further than Usman's fight against Khamzat Chimaev. Sure, he got ragdolled a bit in the first round, but he made adjustments and fought back hard in rounds 2 and 3. Many fans and analysts even said that fight could have easily been scored a draw, so the question now is simple. Does Kamaru Usman still have enough left in the tank to beat a surging Joaquin Buckley? And if he doesn't, if Buckley gets his hand raised, does Usman decide to walk away from the sport? Is this the last ride for the Nigerian Nightmare? Only time will tell. Moving on to another news. Anthony Smith reacts to losing his final fight. It was an emotional night for Anthony Smith as he made his final walk to the UFC's octagon on Saturday evening. Unfortunately for Lionheart, his retirement fight didn't go the way he had hoped. Smith was looking to ride off into the sunset with a win, but standing in his way was the undefeated rising star Zhang Ming, and Ming proved to be too much to handle. Zhang remained undefeated in the UFC, putting on a dominant performance and stopping Smith with heavy ground and pound at 4:03 of the very first round. It was a brutal ending for Smith, who had hoped for a storybook finish to his career. Instead, it was the new generation making a big statement. After the loss, there was a bizarre moment as Smith, clearly frustrated, flipped off someone in the crowd. Cameras quickly caught the incident, and later it was revealed who Smith was directing his emotions toward. It was an unexpected scene, but understandable given the emotions running high after a loss in such a significant fight. Smith now walks away from the sport on a 3-fight skid. It's not the way any fighter wants to leave, but Smith's career overall was filled with moments of grit, heart, and resilience. Everything that earned him the nickname Lionheart. Following the event, Anthony Smith took to social media to release a heartfelt statement. He wrote, "That's a wrap. Congrats to Gene. The light heavyweight division is on notice. You're going to have a great career. Thank you to all of the people who have supported me all these years. I was never good enough to make it this far. I'm just really happy that it all happened. Thank you to the UFC for saving my life. It was a raw, emotional message that captured what Smith has always been about: honesty, heart, and humility. Several UFC fighters quickly reacted to Smith's retirement, showing their respect for the veteran. Conor McGregor posted a laughing emoji, though it wasn't clear if it was directed at Smith or the bizarre flip-off incident. Meanwhile, others shared heartfelt messages. Chris Weidman said, "Big congrats to Anthony Smith on an amazing career. Has been a pleasure to be able to train with you and become a friend over the years." Israel Adesanya tweeted, "I did that shit, Anthony Smith." Stephen Wonderboy Thompson said, "Man, what a special moment. You deserve this moment, brother. Enjoy it." Terrence McKinney added some humor, writing, "I'm never telling the UFC I'm retiring. I don't want a retirement fight. No way." Rafael Dos Anjos shared, "Anthony Smith has fought all the killers in his career. Guy is a beast. Happy retirement." Robert Whittaker said, "Congrats on a great career, mate. Was a privilege to watch your fights." And Misha Tate kept it simple but meaningful. "Was a great run. Anthony Smith's career may not have ended with his hand raised, but his impact on the sport and his toughness inside the octagon won't be forgotten." Moving on to another news. Dana White comments on Khamzat Chimaev versus Dricus du Plessis and Islam Makhachev versus Ilia Topuria. Big developments are happening at the top of the UFC rankings, and Dana White has finally given some updates. First, Dana confirmed that Dricus du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev is official. The fight is happening. That's a done deal. While they haven't announced an exact date yet, Dana said the bout is locked in and they'll be revealing more details soon. However, he did mention that it won't be happening during International Fight Week, which had been heavily rumored for weeks. Still, the important thing is, the fight is happening, and it's only a matter of time before we get an official fight night poster. As for Islam Makhachev versus Ilia Topuria, well, that one isn't official yet. Dana made it clear that there's still a lot to figure out. Speaking about it, he said, "We'll see. We'll see how it plays out." So while the internet has been buzzing with rumors about the lightweight champ taking on the featherweight king, it's still very much up in the air. There's nothing confirmed yet, but if it does happen, it would easily be one of the biggest super fights of the year. Two dominant champions, undefeated in the UFC, clashing for ultimate glory? It doesn't get much better than that. To clear up the confusion, Dana spoke on the rumors that were circulating earlier. There were a lot of people claiming that Khamzat versus DDP was off, or that it was never finalized, but according to Dana himself, that's just not true. In his words, that fight's happening. The DDP versus Khamzat fight, it's happening. It's just not happening at International Fight Week. That fight's done, just not happening now. So fans who were worried about the matchup falling apart can relax. It's definitely going down, just a little later than expected. Of course, no UFC media session would be complete without someone asking about Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall. And once again, Dana addressed the situation head on. He reiterated that he is still extremely confident that Jones versus Aspinall will happen, but fans will have to wait until 2025. When asked where things stand at the moment, Dana didn't mince words. He said, "Everything you hear is bullshit until we say it." So that fight is still the target for both men. Dana also doubled down on his earlier comments from the start of the year when he said he was super confident about the fight happening. When pressed if he still felt that way, Dana simply replied, "Still super confident." So there you have it. Some massive fights are brewing in the UFC. Some are official, some are close, but all of them are guaranteed to shake up their divisions in a big way. Let's move on to another news. Carlos Prates has released a statement following his recent loss inside the octagon. Prates faced Ian Gary in a highly anticipated matchup, but unfortunately for him, things didn't go as planned. After 3 hard-fought rounds, the judges awarded Ian Gary the unanimous decision victory. It was a tough pill to swallow for Prates, who had entered the fight with high hopes of making a major statement in the division. Shortly after the fight, Prates took to social media to address his fans, supporters, and loved ones. In his heartfelt message, he wrote, "Unfortunately, I couldn't finish the fight and that wasn't enough. Sorry family, I'll come back." While the message was short, it carried a lot of emotion. It's clear that Prates is feeling the weight of the loss, not just for himself, but for everyone who supports him and believes in his journey. Fighters often talk about the highs and lows of this brutal sport, and Prates is experiencing one of those tough moments. However, what's most important is his mindset moving forward. His promise to come back shows that he's not letting this setback define him. Instead, he's taking responsibility and already looking ahead to the next opportunity. That kind of resilience is exactly what separates fighters who fade away from those who bounce back stronger. While the loss to Gary will sting, Carlos Prates remains a dangerous competitor with a bright future. Losses are part of the game, especially at the highest level, and sometimes it's not about falling short. It's about how you respond. Prates is determined to return, learn from this experience, and prove that he belongs among the elite. Fans will definitely be keeping an eye on his next move.